Okay, so when is the appropriate time for a country to redesign its currency notes? I don't think there's a hard and fast rule about it, though the CBN governor had mentioned a period of between 5 and 8 years. If we go by that, Nigeria's last note is way older than that, so maybe like 18 years or thereabout. So we are due for a redesign, there is no doubt about that. But the primary driver of redesigning notes is actually security. So over time, a country's currency across the world, this happens across the world, becomes susceptible to counterfeiting and all those illegalities. So a country wants to keep ahead of the counterfeiters. So from time to time, you review the currency, you introduce new security measures, and you reissue that currency. So that happens from time to time. If you take a look at the Bureau of Engraving and Printing in the US, you will see the various periods when they will issue various denominations of their currency. You will see 2026, there is 2028, all the way to 2034. So conceptually, there is nothing wrong with redesigning your currency occasionally based on the critical objective of counterfeiting. And in the peculiar case that we have in Nigeria now, according to the CBN, there are issues of counterfeiting, of course, that is always there. And the CBN also mentioned the volume of currency that is outside the banking system. You want to rein in some of those, and also the criminality side of things. So if you ask me, there's enough basis for saying we should redesign our notes. Is the timing right? There's never going to be a perfect timing. I think what is more important is to ensure that we can implement to the details. What I mean by that is that we are able to know exactly where the issues are, have the political will to carry through, and then be able to deal with those issues that will be involved. Let me give you an example of issues that will be involved. You want to be able to make it not too difficult for the people at the lower end of the ladder to be able to change their money. Most of those people are in the remote areas. Access to banking is not exactly as robust as it should be. The financial inclusion that we are practicing or that we are extending to them has not really penetrated as deep as what we would have loved it to be. So we must be able to ensure that those people will be able to change their money. Then the political will, of course, to handle the big fishes who have vaults in their homes and are probably part of the target for this initiative. The question you ask is about the concern about the cost of, redesigning and printing the new note. In the real sense, the cost is not going to be that much of an issue. And why did I say that? Whether you are printing the old note, or should I call it the current note that we have now, if you are not even redesigning, there is a cost to printing it. And we're always printing on a continuous basis. Why do we do that? From time to time, there are so many dirty notes that you have to withdraw from circulation. When you do that, you reprint. Number two is that there may be a reason to increase the volume of cash in circulation. So you want to increase the volume, you print also. And none of those steps come free. They don't come free, they come at a cost. I remember reading a report that in 2020, about 58 billion naira was used to print a note. So printing costs will always be there, whether you are printing the current note or you are printing a new design of a note. What may, however, happen is that the new notes, you may need to print a bigger volume, because you're just more or less withdrawing everything that was in the market, and you are reintroducing this new note. So a bigger volume might be required. Then the fact that you are introducing new security features, it may also mean that the price per unit may go up a little bit. But beyond that, whether you are printing old notes or you are printing the new redesign notes, both come at a cost. None is free. Okay, you ask if this initiative can add value to the Naira. This is not anything to do with adding value to the Naira. What we are likely to experience is that when this initiative kicks off, people who have stockpiled cash, tons of Naira in their private vault, will want to exit those positions. So they will start to offer those cash at discount to the market, maybe to exchange it with dollars. Or they may also offer certain incentive to pass it through the banking system. Now, because of the massive discount they are offering to evacuate their cash, that could lead to depreciation of the Naira against the dollar. For example, if you are buying the dollars, if the dollar in the black market or private market, it says 730, these people might be willing to pay 750, 780 because they need to offload what they already have. So that will cause a temporary slide in the value of the Naira. But if this is implemented with the right level of discipline that we expect, it means that at some point, the people you are evacuating to will be worried about how they will be able to evacuate the Naira you are giving them. Therefore, they will stop accepting the Naira. And whatever movement we have seen, negative movement in the value of Naira that we have seen within a short period, will likely be reversed. And that is it. If we want our currency to appreciate in value, it has nothing to do with redesigning the note. It's like saying, well, your note was yellow before, so you now decide to have a green note, and you're wondering if that will result to increase in value. No, it has nothing to do with value. There are monetary policy issues that will help with value, but more importantly, my advocacy is there is no sustainable monetary policy that can guarantee value for. There's no policy that can monetary policy that can sustainably guarantee value for your currency if you're not producing. So the best way to have a sustainably valuable Naira is to have more to offer to the world in terms of goods and services. Anything that the world is willing to buy and give us FX for it, we must be able to offer it. And that is a more sustainable way to guarantee value, not some policy that are not backed up with. No. That's a shortcut. It doesn't work. At least it doesn't work sustainably. The issue of controlling the volume of currency outside of the banking system, yes, it's a mandate of the CBN to do that. So it's right within its mandate. Then the other part about counterfeiting, yes, that is also within its mandate. It must ensure that the note of Nigeria maintain its integrity and counterfeiting do not become pervasive on our currency. The third part you spoke about was the criminality part, curtailing, kidnapping, and all the other things. Now, that is not a decision that is within the purview of CBN, strictly speaking. However, where there are national security concerns, and it is believed that working with CBN along this direction can help to deal with that national security issue, yes, the CBN will be called to the table. The idea will be shared with CBN on how it can help to deal with that national security issue. And of course, then it could be brought on board to implement that. So while that might not be an initiative of the CBN itself, I don't even believe it is an initiative of the CBN anyway, but the national security team can call in the CBN and have a tete-a-tete with CBN on how it can support their own effort using this kind of initiative. Yes, the governor had mentioned that this will reduce corruption in the upcoming election. How can this happen? One of the major issues we're going to deal with in the upcoming election is vote buying. The Electoral Act has blocked literally all the traditional ways in which politicians manipulate elections. Therefore, the only window that is still readily possible for them to exploit is to buy vote, induce the voters with monetary rewards. So this could mean that politicians who have an intention of doing this will have stockpiled the cash. So by implementing the CBN policy, those private vaults that they have already stashed the cash, there will be challenges with how they want to evacuate that cash. As a matter of fact, by the time election comes up in February, that old cash that they stockpile will have become useless. So what we're going to find is these people trying to evacuate the cash. And as part of a disciplined implementation of this initiative, it means that the security agencies, the CBN itself, the banks, everybody will be watching the window of people who are trying to offload heavy cash into the banking system. It's more or less like trying to clean up dirty money in the system. So if this is implemented with the right level of discipline, yes, it will be a major challenge for vote buyers in the coming election. The implementation window, by 31st of January, this is supposed to have been completed, and the new note perfectly substituting the current one. Is it short? It is short, if you ask me, it is short. However, what I would have loved to hear from the CBN is the plan it has for the informal sector that is heavily cash based in their transaction. How do they intend to make things easier for this segment of the society to change their money? We have a pretty large informal sector. We have people in the deep rural areas, the agri people, farmers and the rest of them. These people, most of the transactions that they get involved with, 95% of the transactions are cash based. Some of them live in places where the nearest bank required them to travel. I know we have had these financial inclusion initiatives all around, but that has not reached all the nooks and crannies as much as we would have loved them to be. So there are still gaps. This is the main issue. As for urban middle class people, how much do they carry around in the real sense? I can't remember when last I have up to 20,000 Naira cash on me. So those ones will not be the problem. But the informal sector, where a lot of transactions goes on in cash, both selling and buying, and where people are being constrained to keep cash at home, that is the biggest worry for me. If we don't manage that process very well, it will push more people into poverty. It will affect the small and medium-scale businesses that are largely in the informal space where most of the transactions are cash-based. So how we manage that part is a critical success factor for this initiative. If we don't do that very well, this project will fail with serious consequences in that segment of the society. That the president wants some things in his name. Probably that was why he decided to approve this initiative. Of course, everybody wants a legacy, but there is no big legacy about redesigning the note. There's nothing legacious about it at all. The same people that were on the former note are still going to be on the new note. So what changed in the real sense? New colors of note. Who will remember that? I don't think that is the basis. However, if we're talking of legacy in terms of free and fair election come 2023, yes, I know the president is particular about that. And if this initiative is implemented with the right level of discipline and political will means that even when the top politicians that we are referring to may have all this private vault in their home, call their banker and want to exit their Naira positions, it will not happen in such a way as to hurt and defeat the purpose of this initiative, which means we shall be watching that space. And anybody who is bringing all those, dirty cash to come and clean up in the banking system, we will ensure that it will not happen. If we do that, then that will be a legacy worth talking about, but not that you redesign. That cannot be a legacy that anybody will want to chase. But if we implement this with discipline, and at the end of the day, it helps to prevent vote buying, then that will be something worth a legacy.